Once our bodies were bells, simply moving in the wind. We told our names. That is a small piece by Phyllis Levin, and it's called In Between. So when I think about that line, simply moving in the wind, it made me realize that it's hard for us to simply move in the wind. As human beings, we have fear and trepidation around change and transformation. So when we think about moving from one thing to another, whether that is, a phase of our lives, so from childhood to adulthood, maybe, or just changing relationships, changing jobs, even just changing our mindset as we learn, we have a challenge with that. And so that's what I'm thinking about today. How can we move from one thing to another? So inside of that liminal space betwixt and between, with a little more grace, a little more softly, and with less grasping and pushing. And that doesn't mean that I don't want to control my own destiny, because I do, but I want to move through those spaces with less resistance while I control the trajectory and the outcome. And so, what I came up with this morning was 3 approaches to kind of walking through these transitions, and they are plan, pace, and grace. So when I think about planning, it might sound like the opposite of, going with the flow and letting the wind move us, but I don't think it is. I think we can apply some level of planning that will help us mentally prepare for certain transitions, the ones that we can see approaching or that we notice as we're in them. And that will just give us a little more surety and a little sense of control, which is actually what that fear is usually about. When we experience fear of change and transformation in our lives, it's one of 2 things. It's either real fear based on real risk, and that's difficult to deal with because it's very, it's something that could happen any moment in your life. So that fear is sharp and real. The other kind is perceived fear, where the risk may not be real, or it might be a lot smaller than we think it is. And so when we plan, when we kind of get our head around what's going on, what are some possible options for us, that just helps our brain deal with it a little better. Also, if it's real risk and you think and plan about it a little bit, maybe put some risk mitigation in place. Worst case scenario, if X, Y, and Z happens, what could I do? Then that also will give you more surety. Of course, you don't want to overdo that, because I think a lot of times when we get into anxiety, we can overplan and go into a black hole of thinking, running around the same rut. And we don't want that either. So plan is one suggestion that I have. The other is pace. So if we pace ourselves through change, that can help us navigate it much better and come out with a better result. What I mean by that is humans don't like uncertainty. And so if we are in the middle of some change, some transformation that's very uncertain, our inclination is to move to the solution right away, even if it's not the right solution, even if we haven't allowed it time to sort of emerge and develop. That's because often we would prefer a bad solution than something that we have to wait for, because we do not like that uncertainty. So if we can pace ourselves a little, slow our roll, think through things, and allow more time between when we're having that transformation and when we actually jump to solution, I think the outcome can be a lot better. And then the last one is grace. If you have some kind of transition, chances are other people are involved, your loved ones, your friends, your family, your coworkers. And so if you can acknowledge that you're going through a transition of some sort and commit to extending grace to yourself and others around you, I think that you can navigate that a lot more softly. So you may have times where you snap at someone, you act kind of crazy, wackadoodle because you really are just stressed with this transition. Instead of beating yourself up about that, just acknowledge, hey, that's a normal part of the process. Make your apologies if necessary, and then move on. And you'll probably see the same behavior from anyone around you that is impacted by the change. One of the things that you can do is just address it directly. So if you have a situation with a person that seems like it's related to some change or transition that you're going through together, you can just talk about it. For yourself, you can journal about that. A lot of really good things will come out in journaling that you can acknowledge, maybe fear or anxiety, desires that you have in this transition, and then you can deal with those a little better. So my three approaches today were plan, pace, and grace. I hope that helps a little bit as you go through change, as you move from one situation to another, which really is almost an everyday occurrence for us. I think if we can also just shift our mindset a little and look at it as a fantastic opportunity for something new and exciting and for growth, then that also makes it easier. All of these things are things that strengthen over time. So the more that you try these things, the better you get at them and the better results that you'll have. So thank you so much for joining me today. And my apologies for the mute at the beginning, but I hope you have a great Saturday. I'm actually headed off soon to facilitate a workshop for a call to create. I'm pretty excited about that. We're going to be making a lot of cool art today. And I hope you have something creative in store for yourself as well. Bye-bye.